Hey everyone, good morning. Let's just give it a couple of minutes for more people to join before we begin. And in the meantime, feel free to use the chat on the right side bottom to introduce yourself and just let us know where you joined from. I have Imran from New Zealand. We have Darren Sibal from Victoria. Hi, Marissa. We have Mandy here. Morning, Mandy from QLD. Reese, you have to tell me what that is.
Queensland,
That's
the,
Queensland.
the
Awesome.
warm, sunny state.
Nice. Mhm. Awesome. Maybe we can just go ahead and kick this thing off here. Okay, so couple of things. Thanks, firstly, everyone, for joining on this webinar for getting started with Fieldwire. I'm Pranati Gumpa, and I'm a marketing program manager here at Fieldwire. Before we begin, I would like to address a few housekeeping items. To ensure a smooth session, all of you are muted, but please don't hesitate to ask any questions you may have in the chat panel, the same place where you're adding where you're from. And we'll have a Q&A session at the end of this presentation, and we'll do our best to address as many questions as we can. We will also share this recording with you guys post the webinar in a day or two. Um, Please keep an eye out for the email from us for the recording. Also, if we don't get to any of your questions, we'll reach out to you to answer those post the webinar. And as we're doing this webinar, I also have a couple of poll questions during this webinar so that you can participate in those and just let us know a little bit more about yourself. And at the end, we have a short 5-question survey, which we would really appreciate it if you could fill it out. This is one of our first webinars for the Australian market, and we would love to get some input on what do you guys like and what topics do you want to hear from us and things like that. So please spare a couple of minutes in the end to give us some feedback. Awesome. So before we dive into this webinar, let's maybe take a couple of questions and so that we can know a little bit more about you. So the first question is, what type of company do you work for? Architect, engineer, consultant, general contractor, principal contractor, subcontractor, and other. So I see like a couple of general contractors. We have a subcontractor, 2 subcontractors. So that's a pretty good mix of GCs and subs, it looks like. That's awesome. That's good to know. Let me also get another poll question out of the way. So there we go. What's your role at your company? Again, this helps us to tailor the webinar a little bit more towards the audience. So just go ahead and say, what's the role? If you're clicking other, can you also just let us know what other means in the chat here? Just helps us, again, like I mentioned. Awesome. Business Manager Mandy, thank you so much for adding that. Marissa CA, thank you, Marissa. Awesome. Thanks again for answering those questions for us before we begin. And now, without further ado, I would like to welcome Reese Chapman. Reese, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pranathi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Reese. I'm a construction success manager at Fieldwire here in Australia. So I come from a construction background. I spent about a decade as an electrician, started my career, moved into facilities management, and then finally into client-side project management. So that experience has given me a really good understanding of what it's like, boots on the ground, what it's like in the office, and also what the client expectations are. That really helps me in my role here at Fieldwire, where I partner with our key customers across Australia to make sure that they're getting the most out of the system, that it's customized for what they need, focusing on workflows, adoption, trainings, and just making sure that the system is customized to make sure that the way their team deliver projects, Fieldwire can work with them. So the agenda for today, I'm going to be running through a bit of a Fieldwire overview just for about 5 minutes, just to give you an understanding of the platform in general. And then we'll spend the majority of the time doing a Fieldwire demo, where I'll run through getting started with Fieldwire and just a quick overview of all the different modules. And then at the end, we'll have about 15 minutes for Q&A. So what is Fieldwire? So the aim of Fieldwire is to seamlessly connect the field and the office. The way that we do that is by these 3 pillars you can see on the right. So by giving everyone access to the information and being able to share among the platform, we do that through our plans, markups on those plans, RFIs and submittals tools. We also enable planning and managing work. So through the task management, we can plan out work, we can schedule our work. We can also capture defects or punch lists and message back and forth within those tasks themselves, really keeping context to the work that we're doing. And then finally, the third one down the bottom, track and report progress. So we do that through forms where you can capture everything from safety documentation to your daily sheet, to your toolbox talks, whatever it is that you need to capture. Reporting, so being able to get the information out of Fieldwire in a reportable format that you can send through to your clients. And then file management, so rather than having everything on your Fieldwire platform and then needing to also have a SharePoint where the guys need to go to see particular files, we can also have that directly in Fieldwire. And through these 3 different workflows, pulling them all together means you've got a single source of truth. And the guys in the field and the guys in the office just need to go to the one place to get all the information they need for the project. So the focus for today in the webinar, I'm going to be running through a bit of getting started, getting an understanding of how to raise your first project in Fieldwire, templates, what you can do with a template, and then just how to navigate your different projects. From there, we'll move into plans, covering how to upload drawings, use the hyperlinks and the markup tools. Then we'll dive into tasks, where I'll show you how to add defects, capture photos, generate reports. And then finally, we'll wrap up exploring forms. So I'm going to run through a couple of examples, daily sheets and swims today, just showing completely different type of forms and kind of get you thinking about what you could include in Fieldwire. So without further ado, let's jump into Fieldwire and kick off the demo. So when you first log into Fieldwire, this is the home page. Obviously, if it's your first time logging in, you won't have this many projects, hopefully. But each one of these tiles is an individual project. So Fieldwire makes it really easy to sort and find your project. You can simply search by typing in the name of the project. We can filter by a range of different filters. And then we can also sort them based on project name, or we can add codes and labels to specific projects, again, just to make it easier to find them. We've also got this nice little star symbol. If you click on this, this will add it up as a favorite. So you can easily find those projects that are important to you. Now, raising your first project is really simple in Fieldwire. All you need to do is click on the new project, add in your project name, a project code. If you've got an internal code that you link back to projects, this is not a mandatory field, it's completely optional. And then what we're going to start with, you can either start with a blank project, or we've also got project templates. So in a project template, we're able to capture a whole bunch of data to make sure that once you've created your project for the first time, you don't need to go back in and rebuild your project template every time. So all of the data you capture, all the customization you do within your project can then be templatized, so we can just roll that out again and again. Really helps with standardization in the company and making sure that our data is consistent across our projects. So in a template, we can capture everything from time zone, currency, what days you're working on site. So maybe we don't work Sunday, for example. Can then also capture your company logo and color. That ensures that all the reporting that comes out of Fieldwire has your logo on it and is colored similar to your company colors. Can then also pick what we want the team to be notified of. As I said, all those customizations we make within the project can be captured in here. We can even have, if you've got a core team of users that need to be invited to every project, maybe like an admin team or the construction manager, for example, they can be added into the template and then they'll be automatically added to every project. Can also choose how often we want things archived, for example. So using the templates, you can really capture all of your project data in a single place so that it's repeatable. Now we can, as I showed a second ago, we can raise that from the main screen. If you're in the template, you can also raise it right from here and it will automatically pick that template. So as simple, again, as just entering the name, clicking create new project, and away you go. Now jumping back into a project is as simple as just clicking on the tile, and it'll take you back to right where you picked, right where you last were. So you can pick up from where you were. Now, when you create your project for the first time, really good way to do housekeeping right off the bat is to come in and create your plan folders. So you can see here, I've got them split out by discipline. That's personally how I like to split them out, but you could split this out by anything you wanted, by level. If you're just a single trade, for example, if you're an electrician, you might have them split up by data and electrical. World's really your oyster. Once you've got your folders set up, adding plans to Fieldwire is really straightforward. So we've got two options. We can add them straight into the folder just by clicking new plan here, or we can just click new plan up the top. Once you do that, you've got a couple of different options here. So we've got a range of integrations. These will automatically sync plans straight into Fieldwire. For example, our OneDrive integration creates a folder structure in your OneDrive for each project. And in there's a plan folder. You could just drag and drop your plans in there and that automatically upload into Fieldwire. On the flip side of that, you can also just get your drawings, drag and drop them into this box, type in your revision. So maybe this is revision C, for example. Click upload. And depending how many files we're uploading, of course, this can take anywhere from a couple of seconds like that to a couple of minutes. Fieldwire will then process those plans and it will name them based on a hierarchy of three things. The first thing it will look for, regardless of whether it's a single page PDF or a multi-page PDF that you're uploading, it'll look for the bookmarks in that PDF, and it'll use a naming convention to then name the plans based on those bookmarks. If there aren't any bookmarks, it'll look to use the name of the file, which is what it's done here. And then if that also doesn't meet a naming criteria, it'll then use our OCR scanner to automatically scan the plans and name them. Now these plans here, I've deliberately named incorrectly so I can show you how the OCR scanner works. So we can do it on individual plans by ticking this little box and then scanning number description. We can also do it on mass. So let's say I wanted to do all 4 of these. Same process. I come in here, put these little boxes around what I want to scan, the sheet number and description, and Fieldwire will automatically pick up what the name of the plans are and rename these plans for us. Now, this again, if you're doing a couple, takes 5 to 30 seconds. And if we're doing 100 or so sheets, will take a little bit longer. Now, I've already got these plans uploaded down here, and Fieldwire has recognized that these are a new version of existing plans. Now, to slip sheet those in front of the existing plans, all I need to do is go review sheets. Everything on the left here is the new sheet, and everything on the right is the existing. So I can see it's zoomed in. I can see that that is the sheet number. It's correct. I can click on this to check the old sheet number if I need to. And I know that's a new version. It's as simple as just clicking add new version and it'll jump right to the next one that you need to review. Once you're comfortable that these are correctly named, you've also got a resolve all button and they can just slot right in front of the existing drawings. Uploading plans to Fieldwire is that simple, and renaming them is as simple as doing that. Now, once you've got all of your plans up into Fieldwire, navigating them is as simple as just clicking on the plan you want to navigate to. We can scroll in and out to zoom in and out and drag the plan around. There's a couple of really good features that a lot of my customers really like with our plans module. Fieldwire will automatically pick up these hyperlink, the callouts, and add a hyperlink to the plan that it's calling to. So this hyperlink here is calling to A301. If I click on that, it'll automatically open up the plan that it's calling to. So really good for if I'm doing an inspection walk or I just need to get some information from the elevation. Get that information, get what I need, and then jump right back to where I was on that previous plan. Now, Fieldwire will do that for any callouts on the plan as long as you've got the plan it's calling to uploaded into Fieldwire. And then we can also do the same thing using our hyperlinks tool. So we can actually add hyperlinks to a whole range of information, everything from plans to specifications, photos, files, even forms or RFIs. I'll just show you an example of what they look like. This is an example of what a plan hyperlink looks like. So very similar to the callout, just a red circle in the name of the plan. And we can also add specifications straight onto the plan. So if the guys are walking around, they go into a room, they need to pull out the specification. We can put that information straight on the plan. They can open it up in Fieldwire on a mobile device or a computer, get the information they need, and then go right back to what they were doing. So it really helps to just put the information that the guys in the field need right in the palm of their hand and really speed up that building process. On top of that, we also have markup tools. So we've got your trusty drawing tools, pen, lines, arrows, highlighter, all your normal markup tools. Then also have a range of shapes, including the cloud tool. Trade-specific symbols, so from a range of different trades here. We can add text boxes in, and then we can also take measurements directly on the plan as well. For all of those markup tools, we obviously have different colors, but most importantly, we also have the purple private color. So this will allow you to make markups on the plan that only you can see. It's really good for, obviously taking your own markups, but also if you've got information that you want to mark up on the plan, but you don't want to push it to everyone yet, we can do a markup in purple. Let's just say it's cloud, for example. Cloud this light fitting. We can come back at a later date, change this to red when it's ready to be pushed to everyone. and now everyone on the project can see it. If for any reason the site team need to go back and look at a previous revision, maybe they want to compare what's changed between now and the previous revision, for example, down in the bottom right, we can go back and see previous revisions. Anytime they're viewing a previous revision, they have this nice big watermark in the middle of the screen, says old revision, just so they know not to build from this. And they can come back here and get any information they need. Now, on top of that, we also have a compare tool, which lives in the same section, and we can compare any two drawings. So by default, it'll pull out the current revision and the last revision for the drawing when you click on the tool. And we get a screen where we can align the plans if they don't quite align. And then Fieldwire will do a comparison. So everything in blue is new and everything in red is dead. So what that means is everything in blue is on the new plan, but wasn't on the previous plan. And everything in red was on the previous plan and isn't on the new plan. So we can see here, good example, these walls here are on the new plan. I noticed they didn't have a cloud around them on the new plan. So the team might not know that that's something that's changed. So I can come in here, draw a cloud around those walls, maybe even highlight those walls as well. And then when I jump back to my current revision, those markups will remain. So it's a really good tool for if you need to compare two different drawings. They don't have to be the same drawing either, by the way. But compare two drawings, make markups, and then capture that data on your plans, and you've got it so that you can communicate it. Pranathi, I think we had another poll question we wanted to do off the back of that. Good, I'll keep going. So the next thing I want to cover was tasks. So we can actually capture tasks directly on plans. And there's a couple of different really good use cases for this. So a task itself, and I pull up this damaged tile here. This is what our tasks look like in Fieldwire. So we can capture a range of different information in here. We've got a checklist that we can capture over here on the left. So this is repeatable. We can add this into new tasks without needing to create each additional line item each time. Really good for if you've got a task like before a wall's drip rocked, for example, to go through, do a check, make sure the electrical is running, the plumbing's running, everything's there before we get the guys out to sheet it. Or here, where it's just a simple process of what needs to happen for replacing a damaged carpet tile. We can then also add photos in. We can message directly in the task, so adding additional context, and also, as you can see here, we can tag people so that we can have communication backwards and forwards. Over here on the right, these are our task attributes. So we can have a status of where it's at in the project. More on that in a bit. We can then also categorize the work. So a lot of my customers categorize based on trade or what portion of the project they're installing. So, again, I'll go back to the electrical example. If we had a data power company, they might split it up between the different data elements that they've got to install and the different power elements. So, lighting, power, switchboards, etc. We can also assign the task out to someone who's responsible for it. Capture the location. So we can have a hierarchy of locations in Fieldwire. Start and end date, it's really good for programming or scheduling out works. And then we've got a manpower and cost field and tags. So this is just an additional way of filtering your information, adding more context again. And then watches down here, this is very much like a CC field. So if I had maybe the client on this and they brought up that there were damaged carpet tiles here, I could CC the customer in, but still have it assigned to Bob who needs to go out and repair it. And that way it keeps them across anytime there is an update to the task or they jump into Fieldwire, they can easily see the task that they're watching as a CC and get that information nice and easy. Now, there's a range of different reasons to use tasks. As I said, you can use them for scheduling. We can use them for reactive works. We can use them for inspections. The use case I'm going to show today is capturing defects. So let's imagine that we're doing a site walk with the builder, with the client, and we've come up to this northern wall here. We're still in the early stages of construction, and we've noticed that the wall is leaking. So let's say we need to repair the waterproofing. We can add the task straight onto the plan, come in, add an existing photo or a new photo straight into the task. We can add a checklist if we had one that we wanted to add for this. Over here on the right, we can set our category. So this one, defects. I'd call this rework because the waterproofing has failed and we need to redo it. And then we can add a location in. So this is building A. One is A102. Pick start and end date if we had it. For this, haven't talked to the contractor yet. I'm just picking up the leaking wall now. So I'll leave that blank for now. And I don't need to capture any other information. Now, if there was other information I needed to capture, I can capture this here. And maybe I've got the client, John, who I want to be a watcher. So again, we can capture that information in here. And now all that's left for me to do is assign it out to someone. So let's say Bob, again, let's pick on Bob. Bob's going to repair this. I can change it to Bob. And now Bob will get a notification that a new task has been allocated to him. And also when he comes into Fieldwire, he'll be able to see that under his My Tasks. So that's how we can capture a defect in the middle of a project. Now, the next most important thing is tracking those defects and getting the information out. So over in our task Kanban board here, this is where we can see all of our tasks. So I've currently got this filtered to all tasks in the project. We can also filter it just to my tasks. So these are things that I'm responsible for. And also using those categories that we ran through earlier, we can then filter down just to those categories as well. So for example, if I just want to see the electrical tasks, click on that, I can see all of our electrical tasks for the project, get the information I need, and off I go. Now, because the defect tasks are split up across, I've got some that are scheduled, some that are on hold, and some that are rework, it's a bit hard from this view to get a good understanding of which tasks are my defects. So again, using those categories, I've categorized them to defects. Click over here and I can see that we've got 3 defects for the project. I can then go through, get the information I need from these 3 tasks. So let's say, for example, this sensor clash. We can see there's an open RFI for this, so we can't action it yet, which is why it's on hold. Now for the overall project, let's say we've scheduled out our entire program for the works. What we can do is we've got a calendar view here, so we can see what tasks need to happen on each particular day. You can see today we're doing a fire alarm test. We've also got a Gantt chart view, where if I go back a week, we can see the program for the job. So we can see, the job's ending this week, provided that we're on time. And the last thing we need to do is this fire alarm test. Fieldwire is really good at giving you all of the context around your tasks, your program, and what's actually going on site, and putting it in the hands of everyone. So everyone from the guys in the office and the guys in the field can all see this. We've got these views on mobile devices, iPhones, phones, Android, etc. So it just really helps to get everyone on the same page. And then last but not least, getting the information out of Fieldwire. So up the top here, we've got Generate Reports button. And this will allow us to pull these tasks out into items, into a palatable format for the clients, and also just in whatever format we need. So we've got a couple of options. Got PDF summary, so really good if you just need to pull out a report to flick to one of the guys on site, and you're not too fussed about what information is in there. It'll pull more rather than less. PDF detailed, this allows you to really dive into what information is captured and isn't. And then CSV pulls it out in Excel-like format so that you can then analyze your data and cut your data however you need to. So in PDF detailed, over here on the left side, we can pick and choose what we do and don't want to include in the report. So maybe the guys on the side have been messaging back and forth in the tasks that we're going to be sharing, and we don't want to share those messages with the client. We can just simply turn that off. Over here on the right, these are all of our filters. So we can filter it down. So maybe I want to capture all of my different statuses, but I only want to capture my defects. And then I'm not fussed who it's assigned to. I just want to get all the defects out. That's how I would categorize down to that. We can also cut the report by time filters. So yeah, if we only want to see what's been modified in the last week, for example, or 3 weeks, we can do that. And last but definitely not least, down the bottom here, we've got a schedule report option. So we can schedule this report to be automatically run and emailed through to the email addresses that you put in this box here. They can be separated by a comma, so we can have multiple email addresses. We can schedule that to go out weekly, monthly, or even multiple days of the week. So really good if you've got an overdue item list that needs to go out every day, or there's things the builder are holding you up with, and you've got an overdue list that you want to be sending to them weekly or daily. Really easy way of doing that. And then from there, getting the report out is as easy as just clicking download report. And then this is what a report looks like in Fieldwire. So up the top, you've got your project name and address. As I said earlier, if you upload your logo into Fieldwire, it will live up here, and this yellow color will be your company color that you set. Each individual task that you pull out will look similar to this. So you've got the name of the task, all of your task attributes and information. Over here on the right, we've got a little mini map of the plan showing context of where that task is and what's actually affected. And then down here, you've got all of your messages, your photos. And if you've got photos, we can click on those, blow it up, get more information, and then go right back to that report. As I said, this is completely customizable, so you can pull out the information that's important to you, that you want to share, and exclude what you don't want to. Now, the one other thing I want to cover here on this Kanban board is just the task statuses. So each of these columns here is a task status, and these are completely customizable within Fieldwire, so you can make them work with your workflow. So maybe you want to have them as a priority list, priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, and just complete and verified, or maybe you want to have it so that it's following the manufacturing process all the way through to delivery on site installation. We can have up to 20 different task statuses, and you can customize everything from the color, permission levels, who can see it, and of course the name of the item itself. There's just another way that Fieldwire really is customizable to your team's specific workflows. You don't have to work into Fieldwire. We try and make the program work with the way that you currently work. So next is the files structure. As I mentioned earlier, you can have a file structure within Fieldwire where you can capture any information you need, any files, whether it be CSVs, PowerPoints, PDFs. There's very few file formats you can't upload into Fieldwire. And any of those PDFs, for example, you can open right up within Fieldwire. Okay. And if it's a fillable PDF, the team can fill it in right in Fieldwire. So we can have the drop-down menus, tick boxes, etc. Anything that you can put in a fillable PDF can live in here. You can also have folder structures that are multiple tiers deep, and then we can also lock down folders so that they're only visible by admins or members or followers, which are our 3 different permission tiers. So it just gives you, again, that customization to have all of your data in here, but just pick who can actually see it and edit it, etc. And lastly, we've got the forms module. So the examples I'm going to show today is a swims and also a daily report, but there is a really wide range of form templates that my customers use. Everything from inspection lists, swims, toolbox talks, daily reports, weekly sheets, or equipment logs. Really can, with our custom form builder, build out almost any form you can imagine. So jumping into a form, just like everything else in Fieldwire, is easy as just clicking through a menu. Now, this is one that I raised earlier. This isn't a fillable PDF. This is just a PDF that we've uploaded into Fieldwire. And the guys can come through, get the information they need, read it, and then once they're done, sign off at the bottom that it's been completed. Now, where we can take that one step further is if we take this same PDF, or take a PDF and turn it into a fillable PDF, you can upload that as a template into Fieldwire. And when we raise a new form from that, it'll look very much like this. So we've already got those text boxes in here. We can add dates. We've got text boxes in here where you can add text directly, and again, those tick boxes. The team can then come down, sign directly onto the sheet, add their name in, and also the date that they've signed it. And then we've got a constant report in everyone's hand of who signed into the swims. Can also do this with sign-in sheets for daily sign-in sheets as well, just to save having everything on paper. Now, on top of that, using Fieldwire's custom form builder, we can build forms very similar to this daily report here. So this is one that I've pre-built. This actually comes with your Fieldwire subscription. So by default, up the top here, Fieldwire is able to capture the weather. So this will be based on the date and the project address. So you can see if I change this address to tomorrow, that weather will automatically update. The general information here, I've got a tick box and some comments. We're able to add notes directly in. You can also have a table format where you can capture hours and hours worked. You can have formulas in those as well so that it can automatically add up. Let's say we had 6 people on site for 6 hours. So you can see here, it's then totaled that up to 36 hours. We can then have an equipment log, material deliveries. Down the bottom, we can add attachments in. So you can add photos, you can add files in here. We can add a crop of the plan, a range of different information. Again, just helping to build out that ecosystem of where everything is tied together in Fieldwire, giving context. And then lastly, we've got a signature field down the bottom here. Where the guys can sign off the form, and we capture when it was signed, what time it was signed, and whose device it was signed from. So where this becomes really important is for anything that needs to be signed off, maybe a toolbox talk, for example, we can have everybody sign onto the toolbox talk form directly in Fieldwire, and they could acknowledge that they were present for the toolbox. Once that's all complete, over here we can change the status from draft to submitted. And by default, when it moves into submitted, as you can see here, all of the cells are locked. Now, again, by default, only an admin can pull it out of submitted back into draft. So once you've moved that form into submitted, it's locked and your project data is safe. Now, in Manage Template, you are able to change those permissions, as I touched on. By default, this is how it's set. But we can have additional statuses, very similar to how we've got the different statuses for the tasks. We can have multiple stages that a form moves through. So maybe if I use the toolbox talk example, we've got the drafting stage, then we've got the stage where everyone's signing on, and then once everyone's signed on, we've got a completed stage. Now, on top of having those custom statuses for forms, we can pick who can enter and exit those. We can also email it out. So if I put my email address down here, I can then pick every time this form is moved into submitted to have it emailed directly to me. So anytime any form is moved of this form template is moved into submitted, I'll get a PDF version emailed straight to me. So I don't need to come into Fieldwire and export it. Again, really good for toolbox talks, incident reports, for example, anything that you need to be kept constantly updated with. This is a really easy way of getting that data out. Awesome. So that's all for today's demo. I hope that was really helpful for everyone. And I believe the last thing we've got is a bit of time for Q&A.
Yes, and thanks, Reese, for going through this webinar. Feel free to add any questions you might have in the Q&A panel or the chat panel here. So we have a question from Sebastian Rees. Can you please show us how to copy one report from a template to another report? Can you please show us how to? Yeah, so I'm just wondering. Yeah, Sebastian, can you just add? Is it more about how to duplicate a report, or are you talking about the templates on the home tab, duplicating a report?
Yeah, absolutely.
Reports, Reese.
Report. Apologies.
Where do you update the default category? Okay, so
I'll go through the report first. So if we've got this open items report here, for example, that we've set up, when I templatize this project, which can be done.
Yeah, the top little button there.
Yeah, so this is how you duplicate it.
Yeah.
On the project itself. So if you wanted to have the same one, duplicate all of the data that you've already captured so that you can make changes, but you've got a copy of it. That's how you do that here. And again, this can be added into that project template. And in the project template itself, we can have all of our reports preset based on templates. My template section takes a while, apologies. I've got thousands and thousands of templates in there. But in this section here, under the template, under the task section, reports, you can build out your report templates in here, and then they'll be pushed directly into any new projects you create from this template so that you don't need to go and create them every time.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Sebastian, let us know that answers your question. Awesome. So that does answer your question. We have another question, Reese. The next question here is, where do you update default categories? So maybe can you just go back into the project and show them how to create slash edit the categories?
Yep. So there's a couple of places we can do it. Easiest way to do it on the fly is down here in the bottom left. We just click to add a new category, say it's data, and that's it. It'll create a category. Deleting them is as simple as clicking the cogwheel and going delete as well. Also, if we jump into the project settings, no, my bad. I thought they were in here. Sorry. Also, again, in the template, when we're creating a new project, we can preset them in the template itself. So categories. We can click in here. We can add all of our categories in. Again, just with the new category button. And that way, when we raise a new project, you've got all of your base categories that you want to have automatically uploaded into Fieldwire.
Perfect. Hope that answers your question. And Mandy, can you update default categories outside of a project or a template project? No. I mean, you either have to update it with a project for that particular project, or you update the template so that while you're creating a new project, it sort of gets pushed into the new project. Awesome. I mean, that's also time. I see a couple of more questions coming in from Mandy and Sebastian. Feel free to email us back as well if you have any more questions. And as I mentioned before, we would be sending you this recording in a day or so. So please keep an eye out for it. So when creating a project, it gives us the option to use default categories. Where do we update those categories? Oh, I get what you're saying, Mandy. It's the same thing that Reese showed within the project. So go back to the project, Reese, and just show Mandy how to edit. If you're creating with the default categories, go ahead and say default categories, create the project. But once you come in here, these are your categories on the left where Reese is. You can just click on that little settings button, click edit, and that lets you update it. Or you can also just delete them and then create your own. So another question from Sebastian is there a way to put together a report which includes multiple projects?
So we have a range of different integrations to pull cross-project information. We can't use the task generate report to pull cross-project data, but we have quite a few integrations. But namely the Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel, as well as Power BI integrations that can pull cross-project data out.
Yeah. And also, can you go back to the home screen there, Reese? Yeah, so you also have this little option here which says generate reports. This is where you can add multiple projects to create a report. But again, this is going to be an Excel and not going to be a PDF like we have seen before. So this just gives you, like, for internal reasons, if you want to check something, it's a quick way to generate your Excel report here. Or you can also use the dashboard that we recently introduced just to see the priorities or like whatever open items that you have on multiple projects. Awesome. We're at time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this session. And it would be amazing if you can take a couple of minutes and just go ahead and fill in the survey. That'll just let us know how this webinar went, and it'll also help us to plan content for the next few webinars. Have a good day and have a happy Wednesday. Bye.
Thanks for your time, everyone.
And there goes the survey. Just take a couple of minutes to answer the survey. Thank you.